Thank you for joining us. This is Happiness, the Sceptics Guide with chartered psychologist and author Dr. Gary Wood and professional skeptic and self-help abuser Paul Flower.
In this episode, we look at the difference between goals and resolutions and tips for getting positive outcomes. Along the way are the usual tangents, asides and the odd colourful phrase, all of this in the pursuit of our goal.
To find the things that could actually make you happier.
So welcome back to Happiness, a Skeptic's Guide for our very first episode in 2022. Yay, I hear you say. Or maybe
Yay.
not. Oh, that's better late than never. So today we want to talk about the obligatory or almost mandatory New Year's resolutions and the idea of the new year, new you. And that's most people's experience of goals, these ill-fated, well-intentioned resolutions that kind of fizzle out by February.
Yeah, there's a massive pressure, isn't there, I think, on this time of year to basically get your life in order for the new year. You know, you're going to be better this year than any year that's ever come before, and you can challenge yourself, and you can do this, and you can do that, and you should be doing this, and, you know, it wears people down, doesn't it?
It also assumes there's a narrow window to make changes in our lives.
Yeah.
And if you miss out on this special, momentous day that's brimming with significance and symbolism, if you don't get it on that day or that month, then you have to give up in February, and then you have to wait another 11 months before you can start again.
Yeah, it's like diets, I guess, as well, to a certain extent.
Yeah.
You know, people think, you know, you've got to do it now, when realistically you could do it on any one of the 365 days this year.
Totally. And you think that, you know, life's challenges and indeed life's joys and like happiness isn't necessarily put on hold, treading water for 11 months. Part of making happiness stick is what we looked at in the last full episode. Is to look at goal setting.
It's a journey, isn't it? So, yeah.
And goals are often seen in a negative way as well, because you say we've got an obsession with setting goals.
Yeah.
But if we look at goals as a framework or a script for part of our stories, so if we know we've talked about the hero's journey, there's an element of goal setting there. There's an element of destiny there, and an element of having to do stuff and having a mission.
Sure.
So if we can start to see goals as part of our story and how we can work them in to make our lives meaningful, rather than just slotting them in for the sake of it.
So give me some specifics here. I think there's an important thing here to say that you are goals obsessed. So I think I'm going to start calling you Dr. Gary Goals Wood in future episodes. But
well, I don't think I'm very happy about that.
These goals are kind of stepping stones on the journey, or at least they can be stepping stones on the journey, I think. So in order to get from A to B, there needs to be a plan, and some of the goals can be short steps on the road to that plan.
But the word we can use is objectives.
Yeah.
So we set an intention, we set a plan, and then we review it. So plan, action, review.
Yeah.
We talk about storytelling. That's the hero's journey. The hero knew what he wanted, set a plan, and overcome obstacles, and then got it.
I did quote, and I'm going to quote him again because most people will have forgotten it. It was so long ago. I quoted Chris Hadfield, who was commander of the International Space Station, who I'd done some work with previously.
Yep.
And he often talks about the fact that he wanted to be an astronaut, but he knew that there were certain things that he had to do. So he did well at physics at school and maths. And then he had to become a pilot, because that was one of the things that was going to get him to his goal. So the ultimate goal was to be an astronaut, but there were all the micro steps on the way that you have to figure out first.
I mean, that's exactly what we do for anything. It might be a small thing we want to learn or we want to achieve. It might be a massive thing that we want to learn, in which case we will break it down into smaller steps.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering, what's your experience so far of New Year's resolutions?
I always used to try them, and then I kind of given up because, like you say, if you're setting an unrealistic timeline on something and you break the resolution, let's say on the 27th of January, and then you don't then do the thing that you promised to do, but the resolution is for the period of the year to a certain extent. So,
yeah.
There's no reason if you break it on the 27th of January, you can't restart it on the 28th.
No reason at all.
So my experience has been generally bad. However, I think I now know of ways to make it better.
Okay. So I've got a question for you. So seeing as we're talking about happiness, I've got a scale from 1 to 10.
Oh, God.
So it could either be, how happy are you? Or how far along your happiness journey are you on a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being not very happy at all and 1 being just starting out and 10 being supremely happy and I've made it?
I think we probably said this a couple of episodes back, in that I would be happy if I could find some equilibrium. There are days when, I'm happy enough. There are days when I'm miserable as sin. I would be happier to try and level that out. And that's the journey for me. How can I get that balance on practically every day?
Okay. So if you were to give an overall number, what would it be?
An overall number 5.
Okay, then. So what I do in coaching, which I use this, it's called a scaling question in coaching. And what people think I'm going to ask next, I actually don't ask them. So I'm going to ask you, how come it's a 5 and not a 4, a 3, or a 2, or a 1? So we're already assuming that 5 is a good thing. You're doing something right already.
Yeah, I'm halfway there.
And
how come? Halfway is better than, because, we're on episode 17 or 16 or whatever this one is.
Whatever.
Of a journey, and if it wasn't working, then, we should have given up a long time ago. So,
but your happiness levels in general. So if we say, you've put you at a 5, how come it's not a 4, a 3, a 2, or a 1?
Because I think I am achieving more equilibrium. I know when I'm down, I know what things that I have done wrong. At the time that they occur, I kind of do know how to adjust them, but it's just getting to the lesson quicker, getting to the resolution quicker that I'm struggling with at the minute. So that's why I'm a 5.
Okay, then.
And really 5 is, I'm saying I'm on the way, but I'm definitely not there.
New Year's resolutions tend to be the opposite. And it always is looking for what's not there. And it's important to take stock of what we're already doing that's right. So it might mean that you do a little bit more of what you're already doing. So if I was to ask you, for you to be, say, a 0.5 along the scale, what do you imagine you might be doing that would say it's a solid 5.5?
What I might be doing, like I say, I might be getting greater control of my emotions at the times when I'm down. So having control of an angry reaction to something, perhaps, which I know has been a fault in most of the last 12 months. So rather than kind of jumping to the reaction, I need to be better at stopping myself from jumping.
What examples do you have of when you're able to stop yourself?
At the minute, I'm generally not able to stop myself, and that's the problem. Because if the day is a dark one, then, unless I keep myself away from other people with whom those instances will occur, then, I'm gonna struggle.
So in the past, what have you done that's been able to help when you've had an angry reaction and you've managed to rein it in?
I want to rein it in before it happens. That's the thing. I don't want to have the reaction. I would rather, have dealt with it in real time and made sure that it didn't happen, or even stopped it kind of at the point that it happens. Take it, like we said, count to 10, take a deep breath, stop yourself having the reaction. That's what I need to be doing more of.
Okay. So to say that you need to be doing more of it implies that you are doing it. So part of the making happiness stick is to review what you're already doing that's working.
Yeah.
Even if it's just a little bit, even if it's just, okay, I nearly flared up, but I did the count to 10, or I went for a walk, or I did whatever. So that's where we often start in coaching, is we take stock of what's already good. What would be good enough for you on that scale from 1 to 10?
So what would be good enough in terms of the level of happiness, or the level of where I am in the journey?
Level of happiness.
Yeah, coming back to the equilibrium point, I would, if I could get every day to kind of even out a bit better, I don't even know whether that's achievable, then, a 7 would be absolutely fine, thanks.
Okay. And that's a really important thing, is because the whole pursuit of New Year's resolutions is this pursuit of perfection. And why perfection? What would be good enough? And so what we've done here for you is we've taken your journey and we've got you at a 5 now, and the journey's from 5 to 7, and we'll do that through small steps. That's all you will. I'm not helping. Right.
I knew that.
And that's what I do in coaching, to frame the whole experience. So if it's confidence building or it's happiness, or that's what we do at the start to frame the journey. So we're not starting from nothing. we're recognizing good stuff is happening, and then we're recognizing that good enough is not necessarily perfection, and then we can recognize, I've already flagged up the idea of a half point.
Yeah. So I think, so people need to recognize where they are on the journey to what they want to get, and, take the small steps to get that little bit closer is what essentially what you're saying. Yeah. And part of this kind of whole new year, new you, it's the whole big change element, isn't it? It's the year has changed. The number on the year has changed. So therefore you have to change, and you don't necessarily have to change massively. You just got to take out the stuff that you dislike, or, improve the stuff that you dislike if you can. Yeah. Or, as is one of my favorite quotes, if you can't change the thing, you have to change your attitude to the thing. Yeah.
I was thinking of an example then. Yeah. If something just annoys you, so it's somebody, you go to a cafe and it's somebody loudly chews. You can either, ask the person to leave. Sorry about that. Yeah. You can either ask the person to leave the cafe. You can not go to the cafe. You can go to the cafe and put music on or headphones. You can sit further away from the person if you want, or you can think, oh, for God's sake, the man's just chewing. Yeah. So there are a number of ways in which we can address. It doesn't have to be pinning the man to the floor and ramming the cake down his throat and say, "You chew that."
Although it sounds like a really good idea.
Although sometimes it might be tempting.
That would be fantastic.
So why don't New Year's resolutions work? Often they are framed in a very negative way. So they're often giving up. I'm cutting down. I'm losing. And there's a psychological thing about, I'm putting all my effort into losing out and cutting down and giving up. Yeah. And it's a very negative way to frame things. Yeah. It's much better to move towards something positive. So in terms of, I'm cutting out whatever, I'm going to eat more healthy. I'm going to have a more varied diet. Are much more positive goals.
Yeah. So, instead of I have to lose, a stone or, 100 kilograms or whatever. Nobody's going to be losing 100 kilograms very quickly. But, instead of that, you're kind of saying, if I do this, if I eat healthier, I will be healthier, rather than setting an insane goal of trying to, or an unreachable goal of trying to lose, a certain amount.
You can lose weight, or you can attain your goal weight, ideal weight. You decide what a healthy weight is for you. Or you just set, take a few pounds or a few kilos off, and that becomes your target weight. So you focus on the target rather than on the loss. Yeah. Usually they're vague, New Year's resolutions. So I'm going to get better at stuff. I'm going to be... What does better mean? I'm going to do more. Do more what? So apart from the day count, I can tick off the days. Oh, it's the 2nd of January. Or haven't had any carbs. Feels like a year. Oh, it's the 3rd of January. And instead of doing that, you set something that it's so you can actually measure it in more than just a day count.
Anything that's punishing you is not really going to work. Is there anything that you're feeling that is a real wrench? Okay, you've got to overcome some hardship if you're going to give up difficult things or do something better. But anything that you really feel like you're punishing yourself to do it is probably not going to work long term.
I had a problem, I can say a problem, with chocolate. I used to eat so much chocolate. And my way round it was, I'm not giving it up. I'm just going to switch brands to a more ecologically, world consciously friendly brand.
And then you could only afford so much of it.
And I could only afford so much of it, but my corner shop didn't stock it, so it became special.
Good, yeah.
So and I actually started to enjoy chocolate more, because I used to have chocolate meals.
Sounds great. Why have I never been invited round?
Yeah, but I used to do that 3 times a day. When I was having about, 9 chocolate bars a day.
These were the Elvis years, yeah?
Yes, these were the Elvis. So I think, it's not healthy. So I switched brands.
Now, my approach to that has always been that I would, I give up things for a period of time. So I might have a month without chocolate. And I found myself better able to do that than to give something up completely. I can do something for a month. There's no, that is no great hardship, and it will do me good to do it that way.
Yeah. Or replace it with something else. So I'm not having chocolate. I'm going to have this instead. You still can build in treats. They don't always have to be the same treat. Sure. And the idea is if you can explore variety in treats, you've got a lot more treats to choose from. Yeah. So that's another way to approach it. Another one is that why they don't work is often we set unachievable goals. So people say, I'm going to be the best in the world at this. And you're thinking, no, you're not. I mean, I could say now I'm going to train to be a world-class Olympic gymnast and roll round the floor in my leotard with a ribbon.
I was going to say I'd like to see that, but actually I wouldn't like to see that.
I don't think I would either. But the idea is, it's not. I could probably do all the training, but it's not achievable. I'm going to be world-class. So I can certainly buy the leotard and I can certainly buy the ribbon and I can certainly roll round the floor a lot and I'll probably get a bit fitter, but I'm not going to be world-class. So it's setting something that's achievable to you.
Yeah, within your ability.
Yes, so it's got to be within your ability. Another thing is to set things that are realistic. So starting your diet on the, Christmas Eve is not necessarily a good idea. Or giving up everything together, that's another one, probably a combo of realistic and achievable. I'm going to lose weight, I'm going to stop smoking, I'm going to stop drinking, I'm going to go exercising, I'm going to learn a language, I'm going to write an opera. No, you're not. Pick something that's, first of all, achievable to you and something that's realistic given your time constraints. You'd have to be about 3 people and you'd have to be quite miserable.
If you've done any management training, so what you're talking about is SMART then, isn't it? Specific, measurable, achievable, realistic.
Yeah.
Time.
So the other thing is open-ended. So you've already said, I'll stick a month on it. So sometimes we start this, I'm going to get healthier, I'm going to get fitter, and there's no end in sight. You need to have an end point. You need to be able to measure it. So yes, SMART, or the slightly amplified version is SMARTer.
Ooh.
So we talked about, first of all, being specific.
It's the remix. Yeah.
It's the remix. It's being specific. Being happy is quite vague, whereas doing more things that I know will make me happy is less vague. And then you have to define what things would they be? What things make me happy? What things will I try? So very specific actions. So although it doesn't matter what people's opinions are, I use the idea that can somebody see you doing those things means that if it's an action, it should be observable. Is it measurable? So how often are you going to do it? For how long are you going to do it? I'm going to do happy things. What things are you going to do? How long? I'm going to spend an hour a week doing happy things. I'm going to spend 20 minutes each day of a morning. I'm going to do so many sit-ups. You can count them so you know when you're not doing them. So it needs to be measurable in some way. You can tick it off I'm a big fan of a bar chart, ticking them off, gold stars. Achievable, we've mentioned within your powers. Realistic is meant, balancing with what's going on in your life, time constraints. I also mentioned the enthusiastically worded, which is another way of saying it should be more positive. So instead of saying it's negative, I'm going to cut out and give up, you're going to embrace stuff. I'm going to embrace healthier things. I'm going to do happier things. Yeah. I'm going to stop being miserable. What are you going to do instead? That's the answer. So we talked about in motivation, I think hopefully we talked about it, the idea of moving away and moving towards things is, that punishment is a motivator that makes us back off and rewards will make us move towards things. The time bound is to set a date. So you've said, I can give up stop chocolate for a month, or you might say, I'm going to hit my target weight within I'm going to give myself 6 weeks. And you work out what's a healthy amount of weight to shed in 6. So is it £1 a week? So, some people go, I'm 6 weeks and I'm going to lose a stone a day. And you're thinking, no, it's just, or I'm going to lose a stone a week.
No, it has to be achievable. That is unachievable.
And realistic.
And then you give up, yeah.
I'm going to go on a 500 calorie diet and I'll just drink rainwater. And, you're thinking, well, 500 calories.
Around, so.
The body needs about 1,000 to 1,200 calories just for your organs to work and just to function. So any diets that you're telling you to go on a 500 calorie diet are absolute nonsense. You should not go below 1,000, 1,200 calories. Okay. Ideally, what you should do, there is actually, I have to dig it out. There's a formula that can work out how many calories you have, and you just reduce by certain amounts.
Now, the interesting thing is there are websites now where you can look up all this kind of information. There's so much information out there now that, when I was trying to lose weight, I would have loved to have been able to see all this stuff, to envision it, and a friend of mine has done their own weight loss story, lost an incredible amount of weight. And, how they did it was by measuring it and by, saying it's, I'm going to lose this in this period of time, and then measure it along the way so that, you are getting there, because knowing you are getting there is encouragement on the journey, isn't it?
Yeah. And of course they didn't lose weight, or they didn't get to their target weight by just reading diet books. They actually had to do something, or,
Precisely.
flicking through recipes. Oh, look at this.
You are a goals man and a man of action.
Well, now sitting there with this, look at, I've got my low fat recipe book. I'm reading through this, bag of crisps, a bag of scratchings, oh, lovely. The idea that you're reading the book and it's going to make a difference, you've got to back it up.
Do something.
The other thing was that it needs to be so E was enthusiastically worded, R was regularly reviewed. So the idea that you said, if you give up on the 26th, 27th, you review and say, okay, what was I doing? What didn't go quite right? How do I need to adjust? And you reframe it all and start again. Don't wait.
This is what we do wrong with New Year's resolutions, isn't it?
Totally.
And that's where we came into this. It's that because we've broken it, we've broken the resolution, so therefore we give up trying to do the resolution. Where actually what we should do is what made us break, and how can we change the circumstances or the situations that led to us breaking.
And essentially what we're doing is we're investing so much on the 1st of January as a symbolic date.
Yeah.
Because and what happens when that wears off? Because we haven't got in touch with other motivations, what's making us tick. So not only, what are the reasons? So envisage, for you achieving a goal. And our old friend again rolls his eyes, Paul does, values again. So,
back to the values.
Back to those values.
Goals, actions and values. I'm going to start calling you Gavin for short. I just need the I and N bit.
Yeah, we'll work that out for next time. I wrote something about resolutions, and I looked at the definition of resolution, and it's become quite trivialized. But when you actually start to unpick the definition, it sounds much more that perhaps we should, can't get my words out, perhaps New Year's resolution, buy new teeth.
Speak properly.
Yeah, right. A resolution is a decree. It's a declaration, it's a promise, it's an oath, it's a vow. Resolution means determination, steadfastness, tenacity, firmness. A resolution is the upshot, the solution, the answer. It's the positive outcome. It's the preferred end state. It's the future desired outcome.
Did you have that written down? Because that was really good.
I did have it written down, yeah. I had it. I embellished a bit,
Excellent.
Sir Ian McKellen's got nothing on me. Fortunately.
He lost the photos.
So all of this is kind of, when you break down resolution into those terms, all of that is too important to be wasted on an arbitrary day. Yeah. It needs a plan. I think I might have mentioned it with the active reading. But the idea that we form a plan, we take action, we review it, and we set goals to our values, so we know that they are meaningful to us in some way. Yeah, so that's it. I thought I was going to say something else meaningful then, but obviously I wasn't.
You've run out of meaningful stuff to say, or you haven't got it written down.
No, I've written down, that's it, out of meaning now, run out of paper. But what you think about it, when you set a goal, or when you use this smarter thing, what you're actually doing is you're telling a story. Because all stories have a framework, like I mentioned the hero's quest. There are different stages.
Yeah.
You watch a film. The film has a structure. It has a narrative. But apart from Shutter Island,
apart from Dune.
Yeah, or Twin Peaks, postmodern. But the idea is that usually what we're trying to do with any goal-setting formula is to write a different story. We're using those as like aid memoir, so we know this bit of the story needs to be here, this bit needs to be here, and then we act upon it.
Yeah.
So it's a script, it's stage direction.
I hear you. Well, Happy New Year to you.
We don't sound very convinced.
No, I'm not. I do mean it.
Yeah.
Happy New Year. Happy New Year to you, and I hope you've enjoyed this elongated version, actually. We normally tend to try and stick to 20 minutes, but having given you a couple of bonus episodes over the festive season, we thought going into a new year and with all the pressures that come upon it, an elongated version was what was needed for the 1st of January.
Is it elongated?
Thanks for bearing with us on this epic journey. Our next episode will actually be on Blue Monday, or the day before Blue Monday, because we always come out on a Sunday, but it will address the issue of Blue Monday and other things around it.
I don't think we need to bother. I mean, there's about half an hour here, isn't there? We'll make do with it, can't we? We'll do one in March. In March. That's it. Right then. Okay. Happy New Year and happy goal setting. And don't mess too much around with the 1st of January. It's an arbitrary day. Get your motivation sorted. Connect with your values and get a plan.
Yeah. There are 365 days in this year. If you waste one of them, who cares?
It's not a leap year, is it?
No.
Are you sure?
2022. No, I'm not sure.
That was and is Happiness, a Sceptics Guide with Paul Flower and me, Gary Wood. In our quest to make happiness stick, this time we compared goals and resolutions and how to get the best positive outcomes. Next time we look at the impact of trust and truth on happiness and well-being. If you liked our podcast, do make it your goal to like, follow and share it with others.
And if you've really enjoyed it, you can support the show at buymeacoffee.com/Skeptics Guide.